You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to episode number 1007 of Locked On Raptors for, Friday, August the 20th. I'm your host, Sean Woodley of RaptorsHQ.com. You can find me on Twitter as always at WoodleySean. You can find the show at Locked On Raptors, although the account is suspended right now. TBD, I don't know why. We didn't do anything bad, I promise, but you can still follow the account, I guess, if you want. I don't know if you can. I don't know how suspensions work. Either way, free Locked On Raptors is the point. You can, of course, find the podcast on all your favorite podcast apps and, of course, on YouTube as well. You're watching it right now, perhaps on YouTube. If you're not, you should join the fun. Subscribe to the YouTube page, and you'll see my beautiful face and all the wonderful faces of all of the guests that we bring on the show, including our guest today, who is making her YouTube debut on the podcast and whose Wi-Fi stream is perilously finicky at the moment. We are joined right now by Katie Heindl, of course, from Dime and everywhere in between. Katie, what's going on?
Hi, man. As you can see, I've got a great lighting situation and maybe a bad Wi-Fi situation.
Yeah, I'm like watching the bars above your name in the little program we're recording with right here, and it's kind of like watching music on the little front of the stereo you used to have, where it's like, woo, so it's just like teasing you. We're at 3 bars right now. We'll survive. But yeah, how's it going, Katie?
It's going good. I was gonna come on and scare you. I just got a swimming top so I can go do laps at the pool. And I tried it on for the first time this morning because I've never worn one before. And I was going to come on with it. But I look crazy. Crazier even than I do now in this bright light.
Yeah, the Katie's lighting situation is interesting. I guess we've never recorded video before. And if we have recorded video before, it's not been at 9 a.m. when the light apparently likes to play games in the room Katie is recording in, but that's cool. We'll make it work. It's all good. Katie, very happy to have you. Today, it's a mailbag show. We have a bunch of listener questions we're going to run through. We can show your listener questions on the stream, which is a very nice thing as well. Of course, I'll still shout out whoever makes them in audio form as well, in case you are not listening or viewing via YouTube. But we've got a bunch of questions to get into today. Before we do that, though, Katie, you were at the Masai Ujiri press conference this week, kind of announcing his return back to Toronto, even though it was, I don't think terribly unexpected from a lot of people as the time went along, and we saw him working with the team during the draft and stuff like that. What was your sort of overarching impression of the Masai press, or anything kind of, leave you thinking about things coming away from it? Or was it basically the typical Masai thing where he says lots of things that make you want to run through a wall? Maybe some of the substance is not there because he doesn't want to show his cards. What was your overall impression of Masai's return press conference?
Mostly the latter, for sure. It's funny. I saw some criticism, like people were like, why are reporters softballing him so much? And like people were tagging specific like beat writers that were there. And it's like, dudes, his family was there, like his 2 young kids and his wife. You're going to like grill him in that situation. Also, that's not what that situation was for.
Yeah. Well, so what is there to hardball him about?
I don't know. Just be like, why isn't Siakam better? Or like, why did you sign? Like, what's going to happen to Sam Decker? I did want to know that. I will say what I thought was interesting and maybe a bit telling was when he talked about, and I didn't think it was just purely platitudes, but was when he began development and wanting to really focus on that. Just even, the draft picks that are coming in, those guys, like some of the other signings that they've made in the summer, it seems pretty apparent that that's what they're trying to lead with. But I don't think it's platitudes in the sense that he's like, we're going to do, because he also in the same press conference said, like, we have to get past the point of thinking like, or caring who or who does not want to come and play in Toronto. Sure. Which I also respected. And I really liked that he said that it felt to him right now what it felt like when Lowry was starting, with the team. It feels like we're in that kind of stage of building up to whatever the next thing is. The next thing in the eyes is a championship, a second championship again. Sure. I also thought that when someone asked him like how long like, how long is this contract worth to you? And he was just like, forever. But his voice sounded so wistful. Like that I felt was kind of coming from the heart. And like to start off, he was like pretty choked up to begin with. I think just like the experience of seeing familiar faces and a lot of people in person again around him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. To detractors or critics of that, I'm kind of like, what did you expect?
Yeah, I mean, were you going to have someone like go up there and scream, "Where's Rashawn Holmes? Why didn't you sign Rashawn Holmes?" Like that's really, as we've kind of covered on the podcast, it's the only thing you can really have that much of a serious gripe with. And there's plenty of reasons not to sign Rashawn Holmes. And so I don't think that was going to really ever be a topic of conversation. I did like the guy who got into Blake Murphy's mentions on that day and said, "Ask him about Isaiah Hartenstein."
Like, sure, I'll make that a priority.
Yeah, very normal question to ask to Masai Ujiri for sure. It was lovely to see Masai. I wish I was down there. I didn't make it end up making it down, but it seemed lovely that everyone got to see each other again. Was that the first time you'd seen a lot of the media people since like everything happened? Or I guess maybe some people were in Vegas, but yeah.
I mean, only Blake and Eric were in Vegas, and
right.
Some of the Raptors PR. But yeah, that was the first time I saw Vivek. That was the first time I saw Will. It was the first time I'd seen Sirit in forever. Like it was Yasmin and Noor came from Dishes and Dime. So
hell yeah, they did.
Yeah. I mean, I had just seen also them in Vegas, but the fact of everyone being in that room again, that was pretty nice. It was like a nice mini reunion on top of everything else.
That's awesome. We've got the free agency news of Will Liu to keep an eye on as well. It's very exciting stuff. I don't know what's happening there.
I won't name names, but like senior media members who you would not think would be so like messy or inquiring were inquiring about Will to me. Or like, what do you know? Where's he going? And I was like, I'm not like gonna spoil this one.
Yeah, wait for the Players Tribune article, man. That's fine. All right, Katie, we got a bunch of mailbag questions we're going to get to on today's show. We'll get to the first break a little early here, and then we can come back on the other side with 2 full loaded segments of mailbag fun. Before we get to that, though, I should tell everybody about our friends over at betonline.ag. It is that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron, ready to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including the $500,000 NFL Mega Contest and the $200,000 NFL Survivor Contest, open now at BetOnline. Head to the website or use your mobile devices today to receive a 100% welcome bonus with the promo code LOCKEDON. That is incredible. If you put in $100, you get $200 to play with. How could you not take that deal? Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on Thursday, September 9th, season opener between Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25. That's a great deal too. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, from football, basketball, boxing, right to horse racing. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 NFL season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Katie, let's get into some of these questions here. The first one here will come from the host of Locked On Blazers, a former and future guest of this podcast, I'm sure, Mike Richmond, who asks, if you held out for a pay raise, what new title would you give yourself when you were finally rewarded the bag? So I guess we got to speak in terms of like, media jobs, I guess. Or maybe we can expand beyond that, a brewmaster, something like that. What do you got?
I mean, you could apply a title like that to what your job is now. You could be like, I'm the veterinarian of podcasting.
Yeah.
So that's not a fair implication to your guests. I might be like, I might assign myself a title of lifeguard. I feel like that's fair for like thinking and talking about feelings so often,
Yeah.
And it's extremely self-important. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could just put feelings correspondent as like your
No, I don't want to be a
title.
correspondent anymore. No, like because there's got to be something beyond correspondent, right?
True. Feelings anchor.
Lifeguard.
Or lifeguard.
I think
lifeguard
it's like
works.
Correspondent, anchor, lifeguard. So that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah. If I'm thinking just in like terms of like the podcast world,
Mhm.
I could just take over David Locke, I suppose. I could just have David Locke's position given to me in my new contract negotiations. We could bring Locke on to talk about that, I suppose. But what else? I'm good with just a podcast host. I'm not a very ambitious person. I'm totally fine with what I'm at. I don't need to add any other titles. Just lock me up and we're all set. I'm not feeling the need to add any or other superfluous titles
Not
to my
diva, huh?
diva. Yeah, diva could work. I do kind of exercise some diva sort of mentality when I do my studio show for the CEBL. Walk in the studio right before we record. Have people pass me microphones. I'm nice about it. I buy people lunch afterwards, but
That's nice.
before
That's not
that,
diva behavior, though.
no, I guess not. I'll stop buying them lunch then. Sorry, guys. Let's move on. Next question here comes from Gosh Guscott on Twitter. I believe his name is Josh, and it's just a fun Twitter handle. Who is the Raptor you are most interested in watching throughout the year, and why? This is a very good question from @Gosh Guscott. Guscott. Oh my God! Thank you, Josh, for ruining my mouth.
John's
with
gonna
your
get
Twitter
fired
handle.
from his new fake title.
Who's the Raptor you're most interested in watching this year, Katie?
I'm going to split this two ways. So I'm going to split to like, storied Raptor that we know.
Sure.
I think that's got to be OG. I really am. I feel like I've talked about this so much with you, but the potential, fingers crossed, of having him have a full runway of a season, a proper season to his name for the first time in like 3 seasons or something. So
really since his rookie year, I guess.
Yeah. Since like his career began at the NBA. And then basically from what I saw at Summer League, I am really excited to see Scottie Barnes and where he goes.
The Barnes one is, that's going to be, I think, the default answer here, just because, he's the 4th overall pick. There's a lot of hope tied up in that dude. And also, he kind of warrants the hope with the way you watch him play. And he kind of has the gregarious nature about him too, to make him super affable and likable, and you want to root for him. But yeah, I think OG is my actual answer too, because what happens with OG could very well dictate what happens with the team as a whole in the coming years. Like, we've talked about how this season is going to very much be sort of let's see what we have in this core and then move forward from there. And if we're going to go with the 2013-14 comparisons, which I think are pretty apt, that season required Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan to prove that they were like dudes you could build a team around, and they did that year. This year, it's going to require, we kind of already know, I think, what Fred VanVleet is, even though he can probably add something to his game, but we kind of know the bare bones of what he's going to be. Pascal Siakam, I think we are a lot closer to knowing what he's going to be after the last couple of seasons. And, there's maybe a ceiling there, but also it's a pretty damn high one. And then OG, he kind of has it in him to potentially become the best player on the team by season's end. I don't know if it's entirely fair to expect that or even think that's a possibility, but with the way he closed last season before he got hurt and COVID kind of took over, he had, I believe, over like a 20-25 game stretch, was averaging like 18 points, 5 boards, 3 assists on like really efficient shooting, almost 50-40-90 shooting, or like 50-40-80. And if he can scale that up, that is a star player. That's full stop. That's a star player on that efficiency. And so if he continues to kind of work on the ball handling, which came a long way last season. I remember, the first week of the year after all the OG hype of the offseason last year, seeing him kind of struggle with ball handling and, kind of attacking defenses from the point of attack. The way he developed that over the course of the season was really remarkable. His defense obviously became as good as it's ever been, I think, in terms of being multi-positional and stuff like that. So he's, everything is sort of there in terms of the ingredients. Whether he can put them together, it's a tall ask, and it's probably unfair to assign too much hope and potential there, but it's right there. And he can, I think, alter the trajectory of the team more than any single player this season with a big breakout. Do you agree with that? Or is there someone else who a big breakout would sort of change the way you view the team more than OG?
No, I agree with that. I feel like, even if Pascal, because I think Pascal will look better and he'll look different no matter what, just given the now like makeup of the team. But I think we kind of know what to expect there Fred will just increase, steadily, gradually. Like that's what we need
Freddily,
from him.
yeah.
Freddily. But I think that, again, like the one player that we just haven't seen that kind of accelerated growth or sustained growth with is OG. And he has real power to change the structure of the team, I think, on court. But I do want to just add as a caveat to the Scottie piece, I know that is the default answer, and I hope like everyone is excited to see him, but I'm more excited to see him mess around. Like I'm not excited to see him in the way that other people are, where I think there's like maybe a lot of pressure or a lot riding on it. And they're like, is he going to be worth the pick? But I'm like, no, I kind of want to see him like mess up and like make mistakes and grow from that, and like also be in the orbit of Fred and OG and Pascal, and to see, and like Boucher and Kem Birch and like those guys too, and just to see like how they kind of temper him and also our expectations of him in the process.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That leads me to the next mailbag question here that I'm just uploading as a graphic right now because I wanted to add it in because it's on topic, talking about Scottie Barnes. The question here from D Goosey on Twitter is, what could Scottie's season average stat line look like for 2021-22? Again, you don't want to get too caught up in over expectation here. It's still going to be a process. Scoring 23 points in a summer league game is not the same as scoring 23 points in an NBA game. So you have to sort of, I think, temper your expectations. And, just because he looked really good in summer league doesn't mean that the timeline is expedited at all. It's 4 summer league games. Like there's still, I think you have to bake in the expectation that this is going to be a multi-year process with him. But he figures to probably at least compete for a starting job until Pascal Siakam is back. What happens after that? Who knows? Maybe he shows out and is the starting 2 guard for the rest of the season. Who's to say? Or the starting center. That's the beauty of Scottie Barnes. Who the hell knows where he's going to play? But in terms of a season-long stat line, what do you think is something that would be reasonable to expect? And, are you kind of going on the low end of expectations just because of the sort of, the understanding that this is not an instant, he's a fully formed player from day one type of thing?
I think this is kind of interesting because this actually happened a few times at Summer League where I would be like, man, he's not having a great game. And then you'd look at his stat line, you'd be like, oh, he is having a great game. But
he's got 5 blocks. Yeah, sure.
I think it's just, but I like that, and I think it's also like a clear reflection that a stat line's not always necessarily a good measure of a player and their capabilities on the floor. But I mean, when he was like hustling and getting his own weird, like second chance points and dunking them and just like flying all around the court, like that's the kind of stuff I want to see. So I do feel like we'll see high rebounding. Probably maybe assists will be a little lower. And I feel like scoring what seems like reasonable. 15 points a game.
It's a tough
one. This is such a weird
What was that?
thing.
Sorry, 15 you said?
Yeah, like does 15 feel comfortable? But I'm also like,
feels a little high.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I was gonna say 11, but I'm like, that seems low, but like 11 to 15 feels like a nice space to be in. And I also think like if he can offer something within that range, plus with everybody else, like they're going to be in a pretty good position.
Yeah, I think 15 feels a little bit high. I think somewhere between like 9 and 12 points a game feels about right. And I think most of his
we meet at like the ends of our spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think the scoring is the thing that's going to take the longest time, right? I mean, as we've kind of talked about, he's kind of a 0-level scorer at the moment, unless he's in transition, and then he's, he can score at the rim. But, when he's driving, he hasn't really figured out how to absorb contact and finish through it yet. He's gotten to the line quite a bit in Summer League, which is really encouraging. But, I don't think the scoring is going to be the main thing you look for from him. And there's lots of other guys who are going to occupy usage on this team, right? Like, I think Malachi Flynn is going to be bombs away, basically have a green light to shoot all he wants on the bench. Chris Boucher is going to share time with Scottie Barnes. He's going to have a higher usage than him. Goran Dragic probably is going to as well if he's part of that second unit. In the starting 5, if he's playing with other starters, he's never going to be higher than the 4th option between Fred, OG, and Siakam. So I don't know if the opportunities are going to be there a ton for him to score. If he comes out and has like a surprising 3-point shooting season and he's 36% as opposed to the 28 you might expect, then maybe you add an extra 3 points or so to his nightly averages. But I think the scoring, whatever it is, as long as it's not like 3 points a game and he's shooting, a 40% true shooting or something from the field, I think you're pretty happy with whatever it's going to be. So yeah, I'll probably pencil in like 10.5, 11. I'm actually very looking forward to the over/under episode we do with Scottie Barnes and the over/unders with him. Rebounding, yeah, I think like he's going to play in lineups where it's going to be needed, and he's enormous and he is very good at grabbing boards. So I would say probably like 6 a game, and then assists, I would say probably a little bit lower just because he's going to be sharing the floor with other playmakers who are going to have the ball first. And I don't know if they're going to say, all right, Scottie, go figure yourself out in the half court now. It might be a matter of you kind of wait and see and sort of work him in slowly and gradually. Maybe by the end of the season, he's averaging more assists than he is at the start. But I would say probably around 2 because he has those instincts and that basic playmaking sort of, mentality. And so it's going to lead to some assists here and there. So if he finishes the year like 11, 6, and 2 with a steal and a block a game, which I think is super attainable, I think you're pretty happy. I guess it's the manner in which it comes. Right. And if he's shooting a ton and only scoring 11 points a game and they're like expediting his on ball stuff and he's looking rough, then maybe you're a little bit disappointed there. But I think that's probably a pretty good ballpark to shoot for.
I want to see him score up close too. Like, I'm not necessarily sure that his 3-point, like his game is going to be very close. And that's what I want. And I think with just like his size, and his length and just like that, I want to see him explore that range more. I'm not going to get too hung up if like he's not a lights out, 3-point shooter. I don't think that's really what they want him to be this season.
No, yeah, it's going to be, I think the comparison I made a couple of days ago with Vivek is like, I think he could be like the DeAndre Bembry of this team, just a little bit more used, right? Like sort of fills the gaps, cuts a whole bunch. Like, I think. Yeah. It's a different size and sort of profile. But in terms of the way, the role he occupies when he's on the floor, that kind of feels to me like what it'll be. It's just be a more fun and enormous version of it, which is great. I'm also very excited to see Scottie Barnes in person. Like there's some dudes who you see in person and you're just like, what? Like Giannis was like this for me the first time I saw Giannis. Actually, Bruno too. The first time I ever saw Bruno in person, it was like staggering that, he's just a human being that exists. I'm excited to see that.
The first time I saw him in person, he was doing yoga.
Who, Bruno or Scottie Barnes?
At the side of the court after practice. But I mean, he's big, but granted, he was also in warm-ups. Like they tossed a long sleeve warm-up on. Not to be like it diminished him, but like there's a real difference. It's weird that there is a real difference when you see someone in uniform.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Just like I'm not sure why your brain does that versus when you see them more like dressed down in like when we saw Marc Gasol in his Fun for tracksuit.
Yeah. Or linens for Marc Gasol as well.
Beautiful Spanish linen.
I have a linen shirt that I picked up this summer, Katie. I totally understand why Marc Gasol wears linens all the time. It's or why people do it in general. It's delightful.
Linens. There's nothing like linens in the summer, to quote once what a salesperson at Brooks Brothers said to Dylan, but he really believed it.
Hell yeah. We're going to continue on and wrap up with some more mailbag questions in a second, but we got a couple of friends to tell you about right now. First up, it is rockauto.com, you've heard us talk about them before. They're saving you money when you go to the mechanic, and they are making it so it's just very, very easy to go to the mechanic, not get fleeced, save money, and then you can use the money you save on other fun things like Toronto Raptors tickets, for example. I don't know. It seems like we're going to get to do that again, which is lovely. Either way, rockauto.com, they are wonderful because they offer you selection. They offer you prices that compete and undercut those at the mechanic. And when you go to the mechanic, they're often going to have just one part available for you, and there's no choice. rockauto.com, you go to their website, you type in the make, model, year of your car, and you are swimming in options, and you get to choose what works best for you between the brands, the specifications, and of course, the prices. They've got everything you need from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpets, and everything in between. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the car parts you will ever need at rockauto.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our pals over at Built Bar, and I promise at some point I'm going to eat a Built Bar during this ad read. Not today, but it's going to happen, and it's going to be great content for Built Bar. Either way, Built Bar is great. They have 9 amazing flavors to choose from in their standard lineup. They also have limited time flavors that appear on the site from time to time as well. And you can, it's about choice, baby. You can make lots of different choices with how you build your box. You can get a single flavor. You can get a mixed box with 2 of each of the 9 flavors. You can also build a box where you get 3 flavors. You get 6 of each one. So go to built.com and check it all out. Find your favorite flavor and then continue ordering said flavor in large amounts. Built Bar flavors are not just great tasting, but they're also good for you too. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from just 130 to 180, much less than the standard candy bar or chocolate bar, as us Canadians say. Only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order. That is the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, Katie, a couple more mailbag questions to get to here. We mentioned before the break or during the break about the idea of spending money to go to see Raptors games and see them in person. Let's get to this question. It's a little bit sad in the sort of concept of it, but I think we can power through it and have some optimism through the end. This one comes from @MindsetVegan. The question is, if the Raptors had to spend another season outside of Canada, which city would you choose for them? We should start with saying that it seems like they're not going to be spending another season outside of Canada, which is wonderful news. Hopefully that holds. Hopefully the Delta variant cooperates, which is, I guess, a fraught ground. But it feels like with the Blue Jays being back, TFC being back, it's kind of out of the bag at this point. It's tough to put those worms back in the can. Yeah. I don't know why bag was the first thing, the first vessel I talked about, but either way, yeah, put the worms back in the bag. I don't know.
Great.
What is in a bag that I was talking about? Is anything?
Cats.
There we go. Cats. That's right. Put the cats back in the jar, in the can? No, thanks. That's a Dwayne Caseyism that was left on the cutting room floor. Katie.
Get it.
If you had to choose another city for the Raptors to play in the event that they cannot come back to Toronto, what city are you choosing?
First, I want to say it's not the Delta variant we need to cooperate. It is vaccine hesitant folks.
Yep.
Get vaccinated. Yep. Get vaccinated.
Do it.
People. Mm-hmm. Even you can't go to a Raptors game. If they come back, you can't go and see them unless you're vaccinated, which I respect.
That's news from this week.
I respect.
It's bringing the news to the people,
that.
Katie.
Yeah, MLSE. It's a good move to make. Masai Ujiri really underscored that at his presser. It does sound like, though it's weird to be like, someone was like, Masai, are you going to help Justin Trudeau out with his campaign? I was like, let's not bring this into this situation. But he was like, yeah. I can call him, but he's like, we talk every day. Like, not him, but he's like someone on our team and their team.
Yeah, me and my boy JT are.
I mean, they're texting.
Just
they're sending
kibitzing every
like,
day. Yeah,
all the time. But yeah, there's like an open line of communication, I think, and I think that's more than what we saw leading up to last season. Yeah, everything felt quite last minute and still pretty fraught. But you're right. Like, if the Jays are back, I mean, soccer's back. Those are different situations because they can be more outdoor stadiums, but it does seem like MLSE is laying the groundwork to make the team come back. If I had to pick another city, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't want Tampa sucked. Like, Tampa really sucked. So it's like the bar's already quite low. In my brain, I'm trying to think of cities that are small, maybe kind of warm. You know what? Like, I really liked Savannah, Georgia. When I was there, that was a chill place.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Sure.
I don't know anything about the infrastructure to support an NBA team.
They do have a minor league baseball team called the Savannah Bananas. So that's good.
There you go. But it's like, what else? Buffalo? We can't do that to these guys.
Did you say that? But Buffalo is going to be my answer because it's just the closest.
I know. That's what I also thought too. But I think, like, if they have to move somewhere, I do want to give them the benefit of warmer weather.
That's fair. I would prefer to give them the benefit of fans that don't boo them in their own arena. And Buffalo fans have already been conditioned to take in Toronto sports teams and treat them like their own. The Jays got wonderful support when they were in Buffalo. There is a full arena there with a terrible hockey team that everybody hates. They'd probably be thrilled to see the Raptors come in and occupy that arena for a little bit and, push the Sabres down the importance level. Shout out to our friends over at Locked On Sabres, covering just a miserable hockey team. But Buffalo is my answer because it's the quickest you can also move back from, right? It's like a 2-hour drive home. If you get the quick spur of the moment, we can go back now. You can just hop in the cars, go over the border, and everything's all hunky-dory. But yeah, let's not entertain that idea anymore. Rhode Island?
I'm trying to think. I'm like, where are there like a lot of artist colonies? They could just go fully in that direction. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are beaches in Rhode Island. Wasn't Jaws in Rhode Island?
No.
It's Massachusetts, maybe, or fake
what
state.
What are those other
really
islands
sure,
that rich people or like, a beach?
Yeah, Martha's Vineyard, Montauk. Yeah, yes. some sort of setting for a over important HBO show. Yeah. Let's not entertain the idea of the Raptors not coming back again because it's far too sad to think about, and we're really rooting for them to come back. And it seems like it's at least on the table, which is quite nice. Let's go to the next question here from Epic Moppus. Eric Morris is his real name, but he's got a fun Twitter handle. Besides Kyle, which former Raptors are primed for a big season with a different team this year? Lots of dudes have moved around. DeMar's on the Bulls. Valanciunas is on the Pelicans, which is still weird. DeLon Wright's now. Trae Young's back up with the Hawks. There's a few other ones out there. Who do you got as other Raptors you're keeping an eye on this season and rooting for?
I was actually going to say O'Shea to start because he did have a phenomenal end of his season as soon as they moved him. I think with Indiana too, getting Rick Carlisle, Jenny Wusek's in there as an assistant coach. I just am actually pretty stoked to see that Pacers team.
Sure.
And what they look like. So probably O'Shea. JV depresses me. I really liked him in Memphis. I don't necessarily understand what it's going to look. I don't understand what's going on in New Orleans. I don't think they do either. Which sucks because it's he had kind of carved out a really important central role for himself on that Grizzlies team. More than that, they all seem to like each other, and he seems so happy there. That sucks. DeMar, 100%. You're stoked for the Bulls, I know. And I'm Bulls are going to be my second team this year. It's going to be wonderful. They're going to play no defense. They're going to score a bazillion points. It's going to rule. I think it will be an interesting opportunity for DeMar to really show people who are, I think, detractors a different side of his game that he didn't necessarily get to expound on at all in San Antonio because of the way that they work and the way that system makes players play. And then I totally forgot about DeLon, so thanks for bringing that up. But DeLon inside, Trae Young, that'll be pretty fun too. I think he'll fit pretty well.
I just want DeLon to stay on a team for more than half a season. It's crazy that he keeps getting dealt.
I know.
It's like the Jay Crowder curse when Jay Crowder signed that very easy to trade contract. And it was just Jay Crowder's awesome, but he keeps fitting in all these trades we want to do. So we have to move him. It's kind of what DeLon Wright's been stuck with. I hope he sticks around in Atlanta. That'd be a really fun story if he can be a really good backup for that team, because they need more good players in Atlanta. It's sickening, frankly.
But I can't lie. Lowry is my number one interest.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be a really fun team to watch as much as it's going to make me want to cry that he's no longer on the team. Let's finish off with the Kyle Lowry question, shall we? This one comes from Pros26. The question is, what Kyle Lowry intangible will the Raptors miss the most this year? Yes, let's finish off by crying.
Great, thank you. Everything. When you think of Lowry's game in the last 3 seasons, which we touched on in our the last episode we did, looking back at all those years of his career here. Yeah. It was more intangibles than anything, right? Yeah. I think what Toronto's really going to miss, and this is something that just Fred, Pascal, and OG just won't and can't have yet, just by virtue of their own experience. But the kind of capacity Kyle Lowry had to be well, this game isn't really going our way. Flip a switch. Now it is. Because that is due a lot to his basketball IQ, the way that he sees the court, the things that he knows he has to do to rev every individual guy up We don't have that anymore, right? Like, however
Yeah.
you want to frame that as like, I don't think of it as like a floor general. I've called it like a floor savant before, and I think that's a little bit more fitting.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not going to have that. I think when we get like down in the hole 30 points, 20 points this season, we're going to stay a little bit more stuck. We don't have Kyle Lowry to like toss everyone on his back and be like, all right, here we go. Also charges.
Yes.
A lot of new guys though, so I won't say that it's impossible, because I would love to see someone step up and try and fill that role.
I actually think what's most likely is that now I become a person who's like, actually, you should outlaw charges. Kyle's not on the team anymore. Bad rule. Get rid of it.
Or you see Kyle do it to Toronto.
And I'm like, you know what? This is dangerous. This is a dangerous play. It needs to be out of the game entirely. I'm willing to admit I have no shame and liked charges because of Kyle Lowry and no other reason. What other ones? Okay, so the one I think they're going to miss the most is the point guard sidle. Whenever a point guard who is not Kyle Lowry is on the floor, comes off the floor after doing something good or bad, Kyle Lowry would just kind of, curl up and pull an arm over the shoulder. So, hey guys, how's it going? What's going on? And then he would just sort of, pass some wisdom along. There's no longer going to be that channel of wisdom being passed from Kyle Lowry to point guards who are younger than him on the team. You would hope that enough of the wisdom has been passed into Fred VanVleet that he can continue on the grand tradition of short kings being great point guards for the Raptors. But, it is certainly a loss to not have that just sort of, he was so generous with his basketball knowledge and wisdom. And, who's to say who can actually kind of replicate it and take all of his information and condense it into being like Kyle Lowry? Probably very little people, but it's very little people, very few people.
Very few people in the bag with the worms and the cats.
Yeah. That's the title of this podcast. It's the mailbag with the worms. But yeah, I think that's the one that I'm going to miss the most, because that was, honestly, if you're looking at the back part of the season, that was the biggest tangible value of Kyle still being on the team, was him just, imparting wisdom on Malachi Flynn and Fred VanVleet and sort of getting them ready to take over. And that's no longer a thing. At some point, you got to cut the umbilical and all that and, give it over to new guys. But it's going to be missed for sure. Katie, I think we've reached the end of this here mailbag podcast. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions. It was a lot of fun. It was nice doing a video show with you for the first time, Katie. Anything that you want to promote? Where can people find your work? You've got lots of good stuff on the go, right?
Yeah, it's been a real busy week coming off Summer League, but I wrote a map of what I saw in Vegas for Yahoo Sports Canada on the Raptors. I'll soon have a longer kind of player profile coming out there. I'm not going to reveal the player who I chose. NBA Summer Vacation Watch has also started again on Dime. That is a weekly column that is exactly what the title suggests. So that comes out every Friday. So there'll be a new one today. And then this week I was on about 1 million podcasts, including this one. Round Ball Rock, Fast Break Breakfast. I was also on the Daily Ding with Dave Dufour, so you can find all those right now, maybe when you're done listening to this.
Why not go do that? You can find me, of course, at Woodley Sean on Twitter. You can subscribe, rate, review, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube page. We're already at like almost 200 subs, which is very cool and gets us closer to, turning this into a money-making monolith. So please jump in there and support the show. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for all the kind words that people have sent about the YouTube stuff this week. It's only going to get better from here as I learn more about how to do video well. Hand talk more, because hand talking is the key when you're on camera. Anyway, that's going to be a weird thumbnail. We're going to wrap it up there, and we'll talk to you again on Monday, as we'll probably have Big V back on the podcast Monday. We'll have some sort of topic to talk about, I'm sure. Also, next week, a very fun podcast coming up with Sarah McDonald, your favorite Norman Powell appreciator and a wonderful music writer in Toronto. She's going to join the show, and we are going to assign some musical homework to each of the Raptors with the help of Sarah McDonald next week. It's going to be silly. It's going to be fun, and I look forward to bringing that to you probably on next Friday's episode. So we have two of the 3 episodes for next week figured out. That'll do it. We'll talk to you again on Monday with another episode of Locked On Raptors. Bye-bye.